A series of controversies is threatening to derail the opening of Disney's latest big-budget blockbuster. I'm talking about the live-action remake of Snow White, which will be out next week.
Rachel Zegler was once set to be Disney's bright new star, until one shocking leak flipped everything upside down. The very fans who cheered her on are now calling for her removal, the studio is knee-deep in damage control, and the Snow White remake is facing a backlash so severe it's become the ultimate cautionary tale. How did everything unravel so fast? And why are so many people convinced this controversy will transform Hollywood for years to come? Buckle up, because this story is about to reveal the risks of fame, the fury of betrayed fans, and the spark that ignited a massive industry-wide rethink. It started as a swirl of whispers on social media.
Now, fans are growing more concerned about Disney's new Snow White remake, mostly because of what the lead actress has been saying to the press. Rachel Zegler has been described as a walking PR disaster for Disney.
No one could confirm or deny the legitimacy of the group chat screenshots that popped up online, but they spread like wildfire. At first, the images were grainy, the usernames partly blurred, and the claims so explosive that many dismissed them as a cruel hoax. But as more posts emerged, the puzzle pieces began to fit together. The timestamps, inside jokes, and references to real-life events pointed straight to Rachel Zegler's inner circle. Skeptics insisted it had to be a deep fake or a staged operation by trolls hungry for clicks, but that argument started losing steam when a well-known influencer from the alleged chat confirmed that certain references were real. Suddenly, everything took on a new weight. The language was so specific, comments supposedly mocking Disney superfans, calling them weirdly obsessed and cringe, that it felt too genuine to be fabricated. Then came the rumor of betrayal. According to insiders, someone in that chat, once a close friend or trusted colleague, had screen recorded the entire conversation. They'd been quietly stockpiling each message, including unflattering remarks about Disney diehards, the Snow White premiere, and even backhanded jabs at co-stars. When the leaks finally hit X, formerly Twitter, Disney enthusiasts went from shocked disbelief to seething outrage almost overnight. This was no minor slip-up or offhand remark. In Hollywood, your relationship with the fanbase can make or break you. Rachel's alleged comments suggested she found the loyal Disney crowd unbearable, perhaps even mocking them in private. Fans who once rallied behind her began to feel used, like she'd smiled for the cameras but spat venom once the lights were off. It was a betrayal that cut deep, because Disney isn't just a studio or a brand. It's an emotional cornerstone for generations of viewers.
There's more. There's always more. Let's have a listen.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story.
The backlash was immediate and vicious. Hashtags like #NomReplaceRachel and #NotMySnowWhite started trending before daybreak. You'd see posts from parents who'd taken their kids to the parks for years, cosplayers who devoted hundreds of hours and dollars, crafting elaborate costumes, and collectors who spent their weekends at conventions celebrating Walt Disney's legacy. They felt ridiculed, cast aside by someone who now starred in a film that was supposed to honor the original Snow White, the very first feature-length animated movie Walt Disney ever made. Before the leaked screenshots, most viewers had been cautiously curious about the new Snow White adaptation. Some were excited to see a fresh, modern approach. Others were nervous about tampering with a beloved classic. But once these alleged remarks circulated, that cautious curiosity shifted to raw fury. The fans attacked Rachel's social media profiles, leaving comments calling her ungrateful, elitist, and phony. People started talking about a real boycott, not just the typical online noise that fizzles out, but a true movement, reminiscent of those that have derailed other high-profile projects. The betrayal stung especially hard because of the intimacy of the Disney fandom. This isn't a casual audience who might drop a franchise after one bad sequel. These are dedicated, often lifelong fans who invest emotionally and financially in Disney's storytelling. The sense that someone inside Disney, particularly the star of its latest live-action remake,
a new trailer is out for Snow White, and if you thought that Disney was going to salvage this film after all the backlash that it received about the direction it was going in remaking the 1937 classic, you were wrong.
Was rolling her eyes behind their backs lit a fuse. It wasn't just about a single movie anymore, it was about loyalty and respect. Why support someone, they asked, who thinks we're laughable? Even before the leak, the Snow White remake was on shaky ground. Rumors circled about massive reshoots, a ballooning budget, and creative clashes behind the scenes. As details trickled out, fans learned about decisions that had many scratching their heads. The dwarfs replaced or reimagined, classic songs cut for being outdated, and Prince Charming supposedly toned down or removed to focus on a more empowered storyline. Rachel's own interviews didn't help. Instead of carefully positioning the film as a respectful update, she often sounded dismissive of the 1937 original. She criticized the plot, saying it made Snow White too passive and reliant on a prince. While some viewers appreciated the attempt to modernize a historically old-fashioned narrative, others felt she was deriding the timeless fairy tale charm that made Snow White legendary in the first place.
There were reportedly not even going to be dwarfs either. Rainbow people instead, until it was a fan protest. And even the word dwarfs isn't mentioned in this remake. The film has people saying, don't mock sleepy as a neurological condition, and dopey isn't really dopey, that'd be rude.
What might have been a modest divide among fans ballooned into a massive storm once the group chat allegations hit. Now, Rachel's comments about the classic story being weird or outdated were being reevaluated through the lens of these new leaks. People weren't just angry that she had a modern take, they felt she held actual contempt for the fandom that kept the Snow White legacy alive for decades. Despite the noise, the film's marketing machine kept chugging along, releasing polished trailers and glossy posters showing Rachel as the iconic princess. But online, the conversation had drifted from the visuals to the drama. Memes exploded across TikTok and YouTube, mocking her perceived arrogance. Edits stitched together her controversial quotes with reaction footage from fans, painting her as the ultimate Disney villain. On X, threads tore apart every interview she'd done in the past 2 years, dissecting her facial expressions, tone, and choice of words. It was a feeding frenzy. In Hollywood, big studios often operate like well-oiled machines, smoothing over controversies and uniting behind their stars to weather any storm. That's not what happened here. Instead, rumors surfaced that Disney might be quietly distancing itself from Rachel in the aftermath. Some speculated that the leak was orchestrated by an insider who saw the writing on the wall. Snow White was shaping up to be a commercial and PR disaster.
Peter Dinklage questioned why the story even included the characters at all.
They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White. And Seven Dwarfs.
Sure.
So, take a step back and look at what you're doing.
By leaking the chat, they could frame Rachel as the main culprit, making it easier for Disney to shift blame. Other theories suggested the person behind the leak was a disgruntled friend, tired of her attitude and condescension. Several pop culture outlets ran stories citing unnamed sources who claimed Rachel had been overly demanding on set and behind closed doors. These claims might have remained in the realm of gossip, if not for the fact that, publicly, Rachel had indeed come off as blunt and sometimes dismissive. That public persona made every negative rumor more believable. Behind the scenes, there were whispers of Disney executives scrambling to contain the fallout. The movie had already cost a fortune, with reshoots pushing the budget into the stratosphere. Investors were restless. The marketing strategy had shifted from touting a bold, modern reimagining to damage control. But from what insiders said, Disney was unsure how to repair a relationship between their lead actress and an outraged fan base. Efforts to pivot the narrative, like pushing more behind-the-scenes footage of the film's production, fell flat because, by now, fans weren't interested in behind-the-scenes glimpses. They wanted accountability for the perceived insults. On social media, theories multiplied. Some said Disney might deliberately sabotage the film's release, writing it off as a loss for tax purposes.
You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group, you just erased that whole image.
Others believed Rachel was in on the controversy and using it to elevate her profile. A subset of conspiracy-minded fans insisted the leak was fake, orchestrated by rival studios or extremist fans who wanted to see the film fail. Regardless of which theory people latched onto, the conversation was loud, passionate, and increasingly hostile. After months of lead-up and swirling tension, opening weekend arrived, and it wasn't pretty. Analysts had predicted a lukewarm reception at worst. No one expected a full-scale crash. The Snow White remake pulled in a fraction of what Disney needed just to break even, let alone turn a profit on its gargantuan budget. Poor word of mouth sank it further during the second weekend, leading to a massive drop in ticket sales that had entertainment outlets labeling it one of the biggest Disney bombs of the decade. What made the shortfall even more brutal was that Disney had front-loaded the film with marketing. Billboards, TV spots, paid social media campaigns, everything pointed to Snow White as the next big phenomenon. Once the reality set in, the promotional blitz felt like a cringe-inducing reminder of a promise that never manifested. Fans posted photos of empty theaters, with entire rows, sometimes entire auditoriums, vacant on a Saturday night.
Rachel Zegler just had one of the most disliked trailers in history with Snow White, but now after all the controversy, she's come out slamming Gal Gadot.
The images became viral symbols of how badly the film was tanking. Industry analysts spoke candidly about the fiasco. The combination of bad press, fan resentment, and the sense that the movie had strayed too far from its classic roots. One well-known critic wrote that Disney had lost the plot by trying to force contemporary messaging onto a story cherished for its timeless simplicity. Supporters of the film argued it was simply ahead of its time, but the box office numbers told a starker truth. Audiences weren't interested enough to see if that was the case. As the crash intensified, blame circulated between the star, the directors, the writers, and the Disney executives who greenlit the project. Rachel, unfortunately, found herself at the center of this blame game. Her interviews had become an internet spectacle, reshared and mocked in countless reaction videos. The leaked group chat, whether entirely real or partially manipulated, still hung like a dark cloud over any discussion of Snow White's financial woes. One of the most puzzling aspects of the whole drama was Rachel's inconsistent or non-existent public response. Early on, she briefly liked a tweet defending her, only to unlike it hours later when it spurred even more negative attention. She stayed silent about the alleged group chat itself, fueling speculation that her legal team had advised her to avoid comment. Meanwhile, the internet interpreted that silence as an admission of guilt. When she finally broke her quiet, sort of, it came in the form of a TikTok skit that many perceived as tone-deaf. She played it off like a cheeky joke, walking into a theater with Snow White merchandise and pretending the box office clerk didn't recognize her.
While we're on the subject of actresses and awards and hacks, do we have a moment for Rachel Zegler and Snow White? Because there is an update.
The humor fell flat. Critics saw it as a self-indulgent attempt to go viral, rather than a sincere attempt to mend fences with fans. The comment sections under that TikTok erupted. Some users accused her of mocking the very crisis she helped create, while others rolled their eyes at how staged it looked. Her silence on deeper issues, like how the leaked messages might have wounded the Disney community, spoke louder than any statement. Fans compared her to other celebrities who'd faced controversies, but offered direct apologies or heartfelt explanations. Rachel's vague online jokes and unspoken refusal to deny the leaks made her seem aloof and out of touch, reinforcing the idea that she had little regard for the fans she'd supposedly mocked. And then, there were her sporadic political posts that emerged around the same time, painting a large portion of the public with broad strokes. This, combined with the group chat fiasco, left people feeling she was doubling down on antagonism. In an era where celebrities often tread cautiously to avoid alienating audiences, Rachel barreled forward. Whether out of personal conviction or simple miscalculation, no one could say for sure. But the damage was done. What happened next reached beyond Rachel Zegler or Snow White. Disney, known for championing progressive angles in recent remakes, faced a wave of criticism about how far was too far when modernizing a classic.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece. Was it Variety? Talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
Industry insiders confessed that executives were rethinking their approach to future projects. It wasn't just about staying faithful to source material anymore, it was about respecting the audience. Studios across Hollywood watched the Snow White fallout with alarm. They saw how one misstep, insulting your core fanbase, could crush a project that had the potential to be a global success. Whispered reports claimed that several upcoming live-action remakes might be scaled back or reworked. Some scripts, rumored to be heavy on pointed social commentary, were said to be undergoing rewrites to lean back toward traditional storytelling. This controversy also sparked discussions around the power of celebrity social media. In the past, big studios could rely on carefully managed press tours and polished talk show appearances to shape an actor's image. Now, a single viral clip or leaked chat can undermine millions in PR spending. Even the concept of cancel culture came up. Some argued that Rachel was facing undue hate for personal opinions, while others insisted that being rude to fans in private is a major self-inflicted wound. Meanwhile, fans realized just how much leverage they held. Boycotts aren't new, but the reaction to Snow White demonstrated a fast, collective pivot. If a star openly disrespects the audience can and will fight back by withdrawing support. That realization could lead to more cautious moves by big-name actors, who now see the meltdown that can occur when public sentiment shifts against them. In the end, this entire saga underscores a fundamental truth. No amount of hype or marketing can save a film from the fallout of betrayed fans. Rachel Zegler's alleged contempt, magnified by leaked group chat messages, took on a life of its own, overshadowing Disney's biggest live-action gamble in years. When opening weekend numbers fell flat, it confirmed what the online chatter had already made clear. Audiences can shut down a movie faster than any critic or competing studio if they feel disrespected. Snow White's implosion wasn't just a blow to Rachel's reputation, it rattled the entire industry, forcing studios to ask themselves if they'd pushed too hard on reinventing beloved classics. Even though some argue the remake was well-intentioned, the perception that it was scolding fans, along with the star's rumored disdain, proved lethal at the box office. Now, Hollywood is on high alert, reevaluating how it adapts cherished stories and how its talent interacts with the public. As for Rachel herself, she stands at a career crossroads. Will she bounce back with sincere apologies, new roles, or a complete image overhaul? Or is she forever marked by this fiasco, an example of how quickly a bright future can darken when you lose touch with the fans who put you on top? That question lingers like a tense silence after a storm. For now, the only certainty is that this controversial chapter in Disney's history won't be forgotten anytime soon, and neither will the consequences of leaking private words that, once set free, changed everything.